followed the hunter, now named Nassir, to his home, which was located somewhere deep within the forest. Even though Tahir was able to keep Soraya and Yasika by his side, the girls still felt tense regarding the forest's ominous nature, with the growing darkness surrounding them not helping matters. Still, the fact that Nassir was able to walk through the forest with confidence, and with Anzor by his side, gave Soraya and Yasika some hope, since it seemed that he knew where he was going. Tahir, however, was still distrustful towards the hunter's intentions and began questioning him. "How much longer until we get to your home?" he asked with suspicion. "Don't worry, it's not too far from here," Nassir assured the Gryphon. "But we should be getting back soon since it's getting dark. That's when some of the more vicious beasts tend to show up, along with a possible Div attack." "A Div? Here?" Yasika asked with fear in her tone. "Yes, sometimes Divs tend to come out at night and attack anyone who is unlucky enough to cross their path," Nassir responded in a grim tone. "So we can't stay out here for too long." "Is that so?" Soraya asked as she walked a bit faster out of instinct. Even if she had only heard of the horror stories that people had when encountering Divs, especially in other regions or kingdoms, she really didn't want to find out what encountering one was actually like, so she continued walking on as much as she could. "We're here," Nassir said as he pointed to what appeared to be a tent of some kind, only it seemed to blend in with the forest. It had a dome at the top and looked big enough for a small family to live in. "Looks cozy," Soraya commented, prompting Nassir to chuckle in response. "Oh, believe me, it is," Nassir confirmed. "It also helps keep us warm during the winter season, too." "Is that right?" Yasika asked with intrigue. "That's convenient. How long have you lived in the forest?" "For most of my life, to be honest," Nassir revealed. "Ever since I was very young, I was surrounded by the forest and saw it as my home for the longest time. I learned how to survive in the wilderness by hunting and foraging thanks to my parents, along with learning how to train Anzor right here." Anzor barked happily at the mention of his name, causing Nassir to chuckle again before patting his head. Though Soraya and Yasika thought it was adorable, Tahir merely rolled his eyes and scoffed, as he still had yet to forgive Nassir for the stunt he pulled. The young hunter then approached the front entrance before calling out to his parents. "Madar! Padar! It's me, Nassir!" he shouted. A brief silence occurred before a feminine tone spoke back in a cautious manner. "What's the secret phrase?" This confused Soraya and Yasika for a brief moment, with Tahir tilting his head in bemusement. "Oh, right, it's Kave," Nassir answered back. This stunned Tahir and Yasika, while Soraya was left in the dark as to what that word meant. A second later, an older woman showed up at the front door to let him inside. Of course, she did not expect him to bring a Gryphon to the tent, and nearly screamed until Nassir calmed her down. Madar! Madar! It's okay! He's not dangerous!" Nassir shouted, causing her to stare in surprise. "Are you absolutely sure we can trust this beast?" she asked with concern. "Yes, you can, and I would prefer that you not call me that," Tahir snarked, causing Nassir's mother to gasp in shock. "You can talk?" Nassir's mother cried in surprise. "Yes, he can, because he's my brother," Soraya explained as to help diffuse the situation. "Look, it's a long story and it's getting late, so if you don't mind, could you please let us in?" Hearing the desperation in Soraya's tone, along with noticing Yasika's still broken arm, the woman nodded before letting them inside the tent. Even so, she still gazed at Tahir suspiciously, which made Tahir a tad bit uncomfortable. As soon as they got inside, they found themselves surrounded by some furniture lying about, along with a floor rug that appeared to be made from an animal skin of some kind. Neither of them could tell where it came from, but decided not to ask as to avoid being rude. "Here, let me patch that arm of yours," Nassir's mother said as she brought some cloth to form a cast around Yasika's broken arm. "Thank you," Yasika replied as she sat down on one of the chairs as to rest her feet and make the process easier. "So, where's Padar? Still out hunting?" Nassir asked as he looked around. "Yes," his mother confirmed. "I believe he'll be back in a few minutes." "So, Mrs. Soraya began as she wasn't sure what to call Nassir's mother. "Oh, please, my dear, just call me Shadi," the older woman replied. "May I ask what your names are?" "My name is Soraya," the princess revealed, "second-born daughter of the royal family of Bahar. This is my brother, Tahir, the firstborn son and heir to the throne, and this is our friend Yasika, a nun of the Sky Monk Sanctuary. Technically a nun in training, but yes, I am from the sanctuary," Yasika corrected. "So that Gryphon really is your brother? Not to mention, you're friends with a Sky Nun, too." "We don't see a lot of Sky Nuns or monks around here," Shadi replied. "Wait a second, royal family? As in, you're a princess?" "That's right. Soraya confirmed with a nod. I am Princess of Bahar, daughter of King Farid and Queen Anahita. By Omurazda, Shadi replied in surprise before turning to her son. I cannot believe you managed to get a real princess in our home. How did you even meet her? Yes, about that, Nassir began in a sheepish tone, only to be interrupted by the sound of someone else entering the house. I'm home, a masculine voice was heard from outside, before speaking in a hushed tone. Kave, come in, Shadi answered back, prompting whoever was outside to finally enter the tent. It was a man with a heavy beard who was carrying what appeared to be a large gazelle on his back. Nader, you are not going to believe who Nassir brought to our home, Shadi exclaimed as she ran to her husband to kiss him on the cheek. Madar! Nassir groaned as he grew embarrassed, knowing how his mother would respond the moment she found out how exactly he met Soraya and her friends. Really? Was it another animal he wanted to adopt besides Anzor? Nader asked jokingly. This made Soraya and Yasika giggle a bit, with Tahir smirking in Nassir's direction, while the young hunter shrunk in embarrassment. No, it's something even crazier, Shadi explained. Nassir brought a princess to our home. I'm sorry, what? Nader asked as he turned to Soraya and Yasika. Given how Yasika wore robes that clearly indicated where she came from, he could only guess that Soraya was the one who Nassir was referring to. You're a princess? Yes, I am, Soraya confirmed. Or rather, I was, until certain events forced me to leave my home. I see, Nader responded, before glancing at the Gryphon. And is he your pet or something? I'm not a pet, Tahir corrected in an annoyed tone. I am human, thank you very much. Nader merely stared in shock before turning to Shadi, who shrugged in response, as even she was confused over what was going on. Turning to face the trio again, he sighed before dropping the gazelle onto the ground and turning to Nassir. Nassir, you mind helping me skin this for dinner? Nader asked his son. Sure, Padar, Nassir said, as he helped carry the carcass to the room where they skinned the game for food or sales. In the meantime, why don't you tell me about what happened? I'm sure you have quite the story to share, Shadi said as she began making some tea for her guest. Yes, you could say it is a very long story, Soraya agreed. A very long and fairly complicated one that even I'm still trying to wrap my head around. How about I explain at the very beginning, Tahir suggested. I'm sure you have many questions regarding the fact that I'm a talking Gryphon. Yes, that is something I've been meaning to ask, Shadi admitted. If you're really human, how did you end up as a Gryphon to begin with? Tahir took a deep breath as he began his story, even if it pained him to tell it to other people again. Though he already told his story to the sky monks and nuns of the sanctuary years ago, along with having told it to his sister as of recently, he still wasn't used to telling it to others, given how traumatic it was for him. Fortunately, he had his sister and Yasika by his side, which made it easier for him to tell it again. Of course, before he could tell Shadi about what happened to him, he wanted to confirm something first. Before we begin, Tahir said, do you by any chance know about Dahak? The moment he mentioned that name, he saw Shadi's face turn from a smile to a scowl. While it thankfully wasn't aimed at Tahir or the other two ladies beside him, the scowl did intimidate them, if just a little bit. Shadi remained silent for a brief moment before answering back. Yes, I do, Shadi responded in a tense tone as she slowly realized what happened to him. I am going to assume he has something to do with your condition? Yes, he did, Tahir confirmed in an equally tense tone. He did this to me. Not just that, he attacked our kingdom and tried to kill my sister. Oh, you poor things, Shadi said with sympathy in her tone. But why did he attack you in the first place? What was he trying to achieve? What else but our kingdom? Tahir asked rhetorically. Turns out he sought to expand his empire into our territory, whether we liked it or not. But that wasn't the only reason why. Then what was? What else could he want besides taking over your kingdom? That I can explain, Yasika jumped in. You see, these two are the center of a prophecy that will put a stop to Dahak's reign of terror once and for all. A prophecy? What kind of prophecy are we talking about? There have been people who claim to have been prophesied to stop Dahak but failed. How do we know this one is legitimate? Shadi asked with suspicion. Because he targeted us specifically to prevent the prophecy from coming to fruition, Tahir revealed. Why else would he go through the effort to kill both me and my sister? And so the trio began telling their story to Shadi, who listened attentively as she took in their words. They told her everything, starting from Tahir's disastrous coronation ceremony and curse to Soraya's equally disastrous coronation, along with their family and subjects being turned to stones. Hearing this horrified and angered Shadi, who had no idea the siblings went through so much. At the same time, she was intrigued and saw just why the siblings were so important to Dahak's defeat. Finally, they revealed the exact circumstance of how they came to meet Nassir as they ended their tale. That's how we ended up meeting our son, Soraya concluded. Shadi stared at them with a blank expression before smiling in a manner that barely hid the turbulent feelings she held within her at the moment. I see. I am sorry my son caused you so much trouble, Shadi apologized, and right as Nassir and his father showed up with the now skinned and carved meat needed for dinner. The moment she saw her son, she got up from her seat and approached him, with Nassir becoming nervous once seeing his mother's smiling face. Nassir? Shadi asked in a seemingly calm tone before turning to her son and smacking him right in the head. Ow! Nassir yelled while rubbing his sore head. What were you thinking? Shadi shouted in anger. These people have told me you are the reason why they got stuck here when they were on the way to stop Dahak. What were you thinking? I'm sorry, Nassir apologized. I didn't mean to get in their way. I thought Tahir was one of those wild griffins who captured and ate people. But you still injured Yasika in the process. Not to mention, you could have killed the princess. Plus, you injured Tahir's wings to the point where he can't even fly. Even if they were being kidnapped by a griffin, you still got them injured. You need to be more careful and not get so reckless, young man, Shadi scolded. I like her, Tahir commented with a slight chuckle. Isn't she being a bit harsh? Yasika asked with concern. I mean, he was trying to help us in his own misguided way. Try telling that to her, Soraya commented as she nudged her head to the angry mother who scolded her son. At least Nassir had the decency to look ashamed, whereas most boys would probably groan and roll their eyes at their mother's scolding. Still, even she couldn't help but feel pity for Nassir and wanted to step in until Nader beat her to it. Okay, how about we calm down and get ready to eat? Nader asked as he separated his wife from his son while attempting to calm her down. Shadi took a deep breath before smiling at the guests. I'm sorry you'll have to see that, Shadi said in a regretful tone. Don't worry, I'll make sure dinner is served very soon. Nassir, Nader, would you mind helping me set up dinner? Yes, Mother, Nassir responded in an obedient tone. We should do it quick, Nader said. We don't want to keep our guests hungry. Oh yes, before I leave, do any of you have any preferences that I should be aware of? Shadi asked with concern. I am a vegetarian by nature, Yasika revealed while raising her hand, so I'm perfectly fine with anything plant-based and edible. Got it. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you, Shadi replied, before presumably heading to the kitchen with her husband and son. As the family left with the meat prepared, Tahir, Soraya, and Yasika were left alone in the lounging area of the tent, though Anzor stayed beside them and allowed Soraya to pet him, which she did happily. Well, that was entertaining, Tahir joked, causing Soraya to smack him slightly in the side. Tahir, don't joke about that, Soraya scolded. Still, it kind of reminds me of how Madar would scold me for making a mess in the hallways of the palace and giving the servants more work to do. Wow, I never expected you to be a troublemaker, Yasika commented with slight amusement. What can I say? I'm not your ordinary princess, Soraya joked. But it is good that we got some kind of hospitality, especially after today. Shame we had to stay here with that idiot who almost got us killed, Tahir snarked. Still sore about that? Soraya asked with concern. Yes, Tahir replied in a blunt tone. Even if he says he's sorry, I still don't trust him. Plus, we can't fly because of him, and Yasika can't use her powers with her arm broken. I'm sure it will heal in due time, Yasika assured him, even if moving said arm slightly made her wince. We just need to be patient and have faith in Omurasa. That's right, have faith, Soraya agreed, while patting her brother's back, which calmed him down, if just a bit. We'll find a way to get back on track and find the ones who will help us on our journey. Who knows, maybe we'll be able to make an ally right here.